a giant floating creeper-shaped island suddenly appears above the Minecraft village, raining down pixelated TNT blocks while villagers frantically build cobweb parachutes to survive the chaos. One fearless, overly confident villager shouts, "I'll negotiate peace," with a diamond sword. As explosions echo around him, the evening sun glints off handfuls of flying blocks, casting long, jagged shadows across the shattered farmland below. A rooster made of pixelated hay blocks freezes mid-crow, startled. Its cubed wings twitching as the first flurry of explosions turns the quaint village into a chaotic mess of smoke, flying dirt, and confused screams. Villagers, square, blocky, and decidedly flummoxed, dive behind block fences, grasping at strands of flimsy cobweb like they're some sort of magic parachutes. The air, thick with the acrid smell of digital gunpowder, vibrates with the chaotic soundtrack of hissing fuses and exploding TNT. And there, in the eye of the pixelated storm, stands Bob, a villager too brave for his own good, decked out in a noticeably shiny diamond helmet that slid awkwardly atop his blocky head. Peace negotiations start now, Bob heroically declares, brandishing his diamond sword like it's a beacon of reason. Or maybe just a very expensive paperweight. From somewhere above, a hissing creeper face glows ominously from the floating island as more TNT drums fall from the sky, bouncing off rooftops and turning peaceful homes into pixelated cheddar. This is no ordinary Tuesday in Minecraft Village. This is the dawn of diplomacy by destruction. It all began earlier that day when Bob was tinkering idly with his redstone contraption, a bizarre machine that was supposed to make farming easier, but instead produced an annoying buzzing noise and spontaneously shot out random sheep-shaped blocks. Unbeknownst to him, his accidental misclick on the contraption's remote activated a hidden beacon on the floating island above, summoning the Creeper Council. Yes, the Creeper Council, an ancient, pixelated parliament of explosive blocks, tired of being stepped on, mined, and, worst of all, blown up by humans with little appreciation for their existential trauma. The Creeper Council, led by the formidable Grand Creeper, now reigned supreme on their newly arrived island fortress, threatening to rain blocky terror on the world below. Below, villagers scrambled. Old Mrs. Kettle, the village baker, tried to bake through the explosions, her oven suspiciously intact amid the chaos. "If I can just get a loaf out, maybe they'll see we're peaceful," she muttered, kneading dough in ashy hands. Meanwhile, a group of children fashioned brave but mostly ineffective cobweb parachutes, soaring narrowly under exploding blocks, their faces a mix of terror and glee. The village blacksmith, Gord, who looked like he was built from the same iron blocks he forged daily, hammered away on a sputtering furnace, defiantly ignoring the impending doom raining from above. "They want war," Gord grunted. "Let 'em come. This iron ain't for show." But the truth was, damn it, bricks aside, no one really knew what to do when blocks started declaring war on humans. After all, blocks were meant to be the building blocks of life, literally, rather than hostile warlords wielding explosives. Bob strutted through the burning streets, diamond sword glittering absurdly in the firelight. "Stand down, explosive entities," he shouted grandly. "I'll negotiate peace with you. One swing, one deal." He swung his sword at nothing in particular, a misshapen dust bunny of dirt blocks, but the sword just clipped the air. The Grand Creeper, impossibly massive and made of pulsing green pixels, peered down. "Peace," it hissed in a voice that rumbled like TNT primed to blow. "Humans have mined us, trapped us, poked us with swords since time immemorial. Today, we take back control." From above, TNT blocks rained faster, striking sharper, igniting parts of the village's beloved pixelated oak trees. A sheep caught in the blast blinked in stunned silence, its wool half blown away in a pixelated puff. The villagers scattered, some dashing towards the river, others hiding within their woolly little homes. The village's bell rang desperately, a blaring call to arms, though arms felt oddly useless when the enemy was gravityped blocks exploding randomly from the sky. Inside Bob's hastily fortified hut, neighbors gathered. Some went glass-eyed, others actively plotted retaliation. The village scribe, an unusually perky fellow named Elric with glasses thicker than glass blocks, scribbled furiously onto a wooden clipboard. "We must respond carefully," he urged. "Blocks don't negotiate well with swords. Perhaps we need to talk in their language." "Which is what exactly? Becoming part block? Exploding randomly?" Bob muttered. Before immediate panic could set it all aflame, an unexpected invitation arrived, literally falling in a carefully wrapped chest tied with redstone string, parachuted from the floating island itself. Bob caught it mid-ash, curiosity overcoming caution. Inside was a crudely pixelated note: "Meet us at the Prismarine Palace. Come prepared to talk or be blown." Signed, the Creeper Council. The Prismarine Palace wasn't far. An underwater monument of shining blue blocks built as a tourist trap years ago, complete with pixelated aquatic statues and cleverly hidden squid mobs. It was the Creeper's chosen diplomatic ground, apparently. Bob stood before the assembled villagers, who nervously debated whether sending him was courageous or catastrophically stupid. "I volunteer. I mean, I am the best talker we've got," Bob insisted confidently, tightening his diamond sword belt. "Besides, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, I've survived 3 Enderman stares and a zombie apocalypse party last harvest." Mrs. Kettle muttered, "Don't die." Bob stomped off, his blocky boots kicking up dust and loose gravel, heading towards the tense underwater palace to meet their exploding overlords. As he approached the glowing Prismarine Palace, his reflection fractured across the rippling blue blocks, the water softly illuminating his determined smile, or at least the pixelated version of one. Inside, the Creeper Council waited, their pixelated eyes flickering with ancient disdain and barely contained excitement. "Welcome, human," the Grand Creeper boomed. "You come prepared for war or wisdom?" Bob swallowed, brandished his diamond sword again with unnecessary flourish, and took a deep breath. "Why don't we just talk? Maybe throw in a trade. I've got enchanted pickaxes, some rare emeralds, and, baked bread." The Grand Creeper seemed to consider this, glow dimming slightly. This, ladies and gentlemen, was the diplomatic disaster in full pixelated bloom. The moment where the fate of a blocky world hung precariously between explosion and negotiation, with one overly confident villager armed mainly with hope and some very sharp pixels. Outside, villagers watched as the sky cooled slightly, the cadence of explosions slowing as if the creepers themselves were impatiently awaiting the outcome. Somewhere, a pixelated cat yawned lazily in a window, blissfully unaware of world-altering talks beneath the waves. Bob squared his shoulders, ready to save or doom the village with words laced in irony and awkward charm. But if there's one thing Minecraft teaches us, it's that blocks don't always play nice. And peace, in a world this blocky and combustible, was about to become the rarest resource of all. And so the block war had begun, not with a bang, but with a conversation that no one was quite sure would end peacefully. Stay tuned, because in the next chapter, Bob's diplomacy might just blow up, in every possible sense. The sun burned high, pixel by pixel, over what was once an unassuming Minecraft ocean, now transformed into the notorious Creeper Island. A blocky fortress of green menace rising defiantly from the waves like a suspiciously square sea cucumber. The island wasn't just a patch of grass and TNT waiting to explode, no. It was the nerve center of the Block Rebellion, the Creeper's personal hellscape, stitched together with hiss and brimstone. Here, the very ground vibrated with explosive tension, and every leaf twitched like a pixelated secret ready to blow. The ocean lapped against the shore with those awkward, rhythmic splashes only Minecraft water can muster, as if nature itself was uncertain about what calamity was about to rupture this binary paradise meet Captain Fizzle. a creeper with ambitions bigger than his blast radius and twice as unpredictable. His green, pixelated face was frozen in a sly grin, but his eyes sparkled with the kind of chaotic energy that could power 100 redstone contraptions. Captain Fizzle was no ordinary bomb-brained bomber. He was the self-declared strategist behind the Block's rebellion. Today, his stubby limbs waved a meticulously crafted banner made of TNT-patterned wool, fluttering wildly in the digital breeze, proclaiming Creeper Island's defiant independence from human tyranny. The island was a sight to behold. Squarish trees, their leaves shaped like kaleidoscopic cubes, swayed against a sky peppered with pixel-perfect clouds. Vibrant patches of mushrooms sat like ridiculous hats on the blocky, mossy ground, and somewhere, the distant clacking of skeleton archers tuned the soundtrack to this green revolution. But beneath the pretty chaos lurked darkness, literal pits rigged with pressure plates wired to explosive doom, traps that would make even the most hardened player choke on their pixelated pork chop. Fizzle chuckled quietly, observing his domain, already calculating the possibility of a surprise detonation to greet the next curious human explorer boom or bust. "That's the question," he muttered, his voice a hiss with an odd echo, like a gentle grenade wrapped in velvet. At the center of Creeper Island, the legendary TNT tower soared, a towering monolith made entirely of unstable blocks, glowing ominously with redstone torches, blinking like 1,000 angry pixel eyeballs. This was the Creeper's war headquarters, a pulsating beacon of blocky menace. Every redstone wire hummed with malevolent energy, a tangled spaghetti of explosive anticipation. From its summit, Captain Fizzle unfurled his plan, a tapestry of chaos plotted on a map resembling a giant pixelated treasure hunt. But instead of gold, it was sprinkled with strategically placed traps and ambush points. The humans, clueless as ever, had ignored the creeping green threat for too long. Little did they know, the blocks weren't just about to rebel, they were about to rewrite the laws of the Minecraft physics engine. Creeper Island had become a laboratory of explosive innovation. There were whisperings of the Fizzle Protocol, a devious plan to infiltrate human settlements by sending in cleverly engineered creeper drones disguised as innocent grass blocks. These drones would detonate precisely when a human least expected it, leaving behind nothing but a crater and a very confused player asking, "Did I just imagine that?" At the water's edge, Captain Fizzle inspected his latest creation, an absurdly large creeper-shaped raft made from wood planks, slime blocks for bounce, and an assembly of pistons that threatened to launch his minion comrades into the sky like fireworks on mining day. The whole contraption vibrated as miniature creepers bounced nervously, their countdowns poised on the edge of eruption. "Time for a splashy surprise," Fizzle whispered, releasing a dramatic yet decidedly blocky whoosh as the raft plunged into the turquoise waters, leaving a pixelated wake behind far away, hidden amidst the shadows of towering obsidian cliffs. A less enthusiastic rebel trudged along. Stoneface, a grumpy, square-headed block of cobblestone with a permanently furrowed brow and an uncanny knack for sarcasm, muttered as he examined a freshly planted explosive sapling. "If this goes boom, I am blaming you, Fizzle." Again. His voice was gravelly, as though years of ignoring player footsteps had worn away any enthusiasm. Stoneface wasn't convinced about this whole war thing after all. He enjoyed his quiet life being mined occasionally, but mostly left alone. War meant chaos, and chaos meant unpredictable physics bugs. And nobody wanted that. Meanwhile, overhead, a flock of blocky pixel birds circled ominously, their square feathers glinting under the sun. One of these was Zappy, the electrified parrot of Creeper Island and reluctant courier of Fizzle's chaotic commands. Zappy's feathers crackled with blue electricity, sparking tiny bolts that sizzled against the humid air. "Deliver the chaos, but try not to shock the male," a tiny voice in Fizzle's brain seemed to advise. But Zappy was already zooming toward the mainland, leaving behind a faint trail of sparkling pixels and nervous villagers below back on the island. Tension curled like pixels warping in a glitch. Not all blocks were thrilled with the creeper's aggressive tactics. The silent observers, Sugar Cube Block and the Brick Twins, exchanged worried glances. Sugar Cube, sweet and sticky, whispered, "Do you really think the humans will just sit back and let us take over? What if they bring those weird metal things, guns or something?" The Brick Twins, identical slabs of reddish clay with tiny grins, brushed off the concern. "Let them try. We're solid, baby, hard-headed and heavier than dirt. Let's just wait until Fizzle blows the whistle." Their voices echoed off the square stones like a bad hallucination at twilight. The island transformed. The darkening sky brought with it the glow of sinister redstone lamps flickering to life, casting long, blocky shadows that danced like jittery ghosts on the grass. Captain Fizzle stood on the summit of the TNT tower, overlooking his verdant kingdom. His silhouette against the flickering lamps was almost heroic, if you squinted really hard and ignored the imminent threat of spontaneous combustion. "Tonight," he declared to an audience of wary creepers, "we strike at the very heart of the pixelated empire. The humans believe their world is safe, wrapped in logic and the steady click-a-tick-lack of their keyboards. But we are the pixelated wildcard, unpredictable, explosive, and undeniably green." A dramatic pause. "Let's show them what happens when the blocks decide to rewrite the game." Suddenly, a distant rumble. Not the satisfying boom that every creeper yearns for, but a subtle vibration that made the leaves jitter on their branches. Stoneface stomped up breathlessly, grim expression deepening. "We've got company," he growled. "Ships. Not the wooden kind either. From the shadowy horizon, pixelated warships, creations of human ingenuity with iron rails and mysterious cannons, cut through the water, their blocky flags waving in defiance. The war was no longer just a siege of sneaky creepers, it was an all-out turf war. Pixel by pixel dot, Captain Fizzle's grin widened. If that was even possible for a creature built mostly of primeval green blocks. "Perfect. Just in time for a little fireworks show," he said, fingers twitching towards a massive lever adorned with redstone dust and destination unknown. As the first volley of pixelated cannonballs thudded into the island's perimeter, Fizzle's laughter rang out. It was a laugh full of madness, genius, and the promise of imminent disaster for both humans and blocks alike. Creeper Island was no longer a secret hideout, it was the epicenter of the impending block war, a ticking time bomb in the digital ocean. And if the world thought it had seen chaos before, well, buckle up, because this was Minecraft like never before. Explosive, absurd, and hilariously unpredictable. And yet, beneath the threat of war and explosion, a question hung in the smoky air like a misfired arrow. If the blocks ruled, what kind of world would they build? A world of perpetual explosions, sudden pits in between your morning stroll, or maybe, just maybe, a world where even the quietest block could make the loudest boom. Captain Fizzle's finger hovered over the lever, the whole island holding its breath. One click away from deciding if the block war would be explosive brilliance or just a comedic disaster. As the twinkling redstone torches blinked ready, the quiet crunch of an unexpected visitor's footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, and very unblocky. Somewhere in the distance, a lone human player, oblivious to the pixelated war machine waiting just on the horizon, wandered closer to Creeper Island, armed only with a wooden sword and an unfortunate amount of confidence. And so, with the island simmering in green-glowing chaos, and the first sparks of conflict igniting like a patch of TNT, the question remained: who would really win the war between blocks and humans? The answer was about to explode into view. But for now, the island waited, silent but screaming, calm but ready to erupt, in perfect pixelated contradiction. Just when the world thought the Minecraft blocks were settling into a somewhat orderly rebellion, the chaos turned up a notch. As if the entire pixelated realm had collectively decided to throw a dance party, no human could resist. Picture this. The grassy plains of Blockville suddenly erupt into a swirling vortex of color, sound, and jittery pixelated limbs, flailing in what could only be described as the chaotic trap dance. The usual stoic stone blocks, walls of granite stoicism shattered, started boogieing and bobbing with an odd mix of aggression and celebration. At the center of this madness stood Flint, a sharp-edged block of flint rock, who fancied himself the general of groove warfare, leading every animated block into an utterly ridiculous but dangerously effective dance formation. Flint's jagged edges glinted under the cubosun as he raised a tiny pixel fist. His voice, gravelly and dry like gravel, echoed over the blocky battlefield. Time to shake their world, literally. And shake they did. Flint's command unleashed a chain reaction that turned every square foot of terrain into a bouncing floor of beat. Dirt blocks thumped low to the ground, sending shockwaves through roots and rocks, while luminous glowstone bulbs flickered in rhythmic Morse code. Dance or be defeated. Meanwhile, the humans, let's call them Team Squishy, stood in stunned silence, their real-world physics utterly confounded by the supernatural jam session unfolding before their eyes. Their weapons, shiny and serious, felt increasingly inappropriate, as if they had been handed laser pointers instead of swords in an unexplained glitch. The crossover event nobody expected was not a battle of arrows and pickaxes, but of funky footwork, as the block's signature trap music blared from invisible jukeboxes scattered across the landscape. The very air crackled with bass notes, so potent they seemed to rearrange gravity itself, making the human's limbs go floppy like a stack of wet wool blocks. Cut to Steve, our beleaguered every-human and silent protagonist, trying to take command amidst the sonic assault. His square jaw clenched, his pixelated eyebrows furrowed so deeply it looked like two narrow valleys in the otherwise flat architecture of his face. Okay, Steve muttered, gripping his diamond sword with the wrong kind of rhythm. Not how I imagined my day. But his usual tactical moves fell flat. Every time he took a step forward, a dirt block beneath him started breaking into a breakdance spin, throwing his footing into comedic confusion. He stumbled, his blocks jittering involuntarily, arms flailing in desperate coordination with the uncanny groove that seemed to animate the entire landscape. Back in the thick of the block rebellion, Flint was orchestrating what he called the chaotic trap dance, a tactical ploy disguised as dancey-off warfare. His troop formations resembled a pixel-perfect flash mob, each block seemingly possessed by a maddening beat frenzy. Sand blocks hopped like jittery bouncers. Cobblestone walls gyrated slowly but menacingly like chunky robots with a vendetta. And even the normally silent obsidian blocks contributed deep, ominous bass drops that rattled the human bones. Flint's strategy wasn't just about disorientation. No, it was a literal sonic siege, a hypnotic chaos designed to sap the human's will to fight, replacing it with a compulsive urge to dance along, or at least lose all control. The human army's commander, a square-helmeted figure named Captain Brixon, tried rallying his troops with shouty, motivational speeches dripping with anxiety. Hold the line, people. Blocky beats won't break our discipline. He barked, but his own two-step shimmy suggested the block's hypnotic beat was already infiltrating his cerebral circuits. One rogue moment, he self-corrected, almost tripped, then muttered, "Focus, Brixon. Focus." Spoiler alert, he did not focus, but instead accidentally invented a groovy new salute involving an awkward moonwalk. In between these larger-than-life dance battles, smaller scenes of absurdity painted themselves onto the wide canvas. A lone wooden plank block found itself partnered with a redstone torch in an impromptu cha-cha, while nearby, a horde of angry TNT blocks bounced in unison, ready to explode. Except the rhythm kept delaying their detonations, turning the whole ordeal into a suspenseful game of explosive musical chairs. From the sidelines, creepers, those notorious hissing blocky bombers, watched the dance unfold with mixed emotions. Some bobbed shyly on the edge of the beat, unsure if this new warfare style was their forte, while others fully embraced the groove, letting out explosive bursts of laughter that were, ironically, less deadly than their usual antics. The Minecraft landscape itself seemed to join the chaotic choreography. Pixelated clouds swirled in dizzying spirals overhead, as if the sky too was caught in the rhythm, dropping occasional sparkly rain particles that looked suspiciously like confetti and added an unexpected party vibe. Even the rivers joined the fun, rippling upstream in pixelated slow-motion swims, their surfaces refracting the discolites from the dancing blocks. And who better to represent the human side's struggle than Alex, the game's other star character, caught pants down in surprisingly literal terms. She found herself accidentally swept into the dance chaos by a snaking line of cobblestone blocks performing a conga. One cobblestone, notably enthusiastic and named Rocky, winked pixelantly and said, "You're in the groove now, partner." Trying to resist only made her feet betray her harder, twitching uncontrollably to the carnival of beats. "I am here to build," she protested between steps, not boogie, the most unexpected twist. The blocks had developed an uncanny intelligence around dance forms, improvising moves at the speed of game ticks. Flint, the sharp-edged tactician, led a surprise move called the pixelated pounce, a leap-and-spin combo that sent shockwaves through enemy ranks, scattering the humans like spilled pixel porridge. The humans tried to respond with traditional attacks, but those moves were so damned uncoordinated compared to the block's uncanny unity that it was like watching someone try to swat flies, while getting caught in a tick-tock time loop of awkwardness. At the height of this blocky Raviturnid battle, Flint raised his voice, not to scream orders, but to hum a funky little tune that seemed to ripple like an electric pulse through his squad. The other blocks joined in, creating a blocky choir humming bass lines, snappy snares, and bleeps that could only be described as pure pixel jazz fusion. Humans found themselves hoovered into this sound vortex, some caught mid-step, others frozen with a grin on their face, cheating the seriousness of war with the absurdity of dance. But amidst the grooving chaos, the landscape showed its own cracks. Minecraft's structural rigidity began to bend under the festival-like tension. Villages built of orderly stacks of wood and stone began wobbling, their sharp angles blurring into playful curves, as if the entire world might just dance itself into a madness of freeform pixel art. A chicken block, a clucking cube of stubborn insubordination, suddenly sprang into a surprise solo, flapping its blocky wings in rapid jitter to the beat, drawing cheers from the block army. It was less a war and more a rave, with unintended consequences in this absurd dance war. Alliances shifted faster than the tempo. Even the notoriously uptight iron blocks loosened up, sliding across the dirt like they were on a blocky slip-and-slide. The architecture of the battlefield became a living disco cathedral, a temple to chaotic rhythm where every block was both a weapon and a dancer. The humans tried desperately to compose a counterattack, but their strategies felt dated and out of sync in the face of a dynamic enemy who wielded rhythm like a weapon sharper than any sword. Yet, amid this frenetic, dizzying spectacle, Flint couldn't shake a nagging worry. The trap dance was a magnificent distraction, but it was a trap after all, one that required immense coordination and more energy than any collection of blocks could sustainably muster. The longer the dance went on, the more the blocks risked running out of their pixelated mojo. Every beat dropped was a battery drained, every spin a processor pushed to the pixel limit. And if the humans found a way to reboot their rusty battle instincts, this rhythm fist could snap back into a full-out block brawl with no dance-a-floor to save them. With a final grand spin, Flint froze mid-step, scanning the human faces jammed between blowing ram horns and broken blocks. "Okay, troops," he muttered, time to think beyond the groove. As the music faded into an eerie silence that hung like a pause in a symphony, both blocks and humans found themselves in an uneasy truce moment. a breathing space where the power of dance met the stubborn persistence of survival. The war was far from over, but the chaotic trap dance had rewritten the rules. In the midst of upheaval, in the pixelated heart of this madness, a new question flickered. Could rhythm be the new weapon of war, or was this just one beat in an endless remix? The answer lay just beyond the next tick of the block clock, waiting to drop its next unpredictable groove. And with that unsteady truce hanging in, the digital air, the stage was set for the final act in this pixelated rebellion that was anything but ordinary. The sky above the blocky battlefield was a jittery mosaic of pixelated smoke and fire. The jagged silhouettes of trees turned to matchsticks standing like mute witnesses. In the center of this chaotic chessboard stood Steve, the quintessential human hero, his square jaw set with tired determination. Across from him loomed the towering granite general, the unlikely ringleader of the Block Rebellion, his granite fists clenched like boulders of unyielding resolve. The air was thick with tension and the faint smell of burnt redstone circuits, a scent only blocks could produce when enraged. But here, amid the craters carved by TNT blasts and the rubble of shattered bricks, an absurd signal flickered. Peace negotiations. Steve exhaled a pixelated sigh. "So you really want a truce?" he asked, his voice cracking like an old Minecraft audio file. The granite general nodded solemnly, his rough, rock-crusted face unreadable except for a tiny, reluctant spider scurrying across his cheek. For now, he grunted. The irony was sharp. Iron ore had fueled their war effort, but iron had also forged this moment of fragile détente. The cramped tent, made from interwoven wool blocks, shimmered under flickering torchlight. Inside, human commanders and block diplomats huddled around a levitating obsidian table, the war's unlikely peace treaty stage. Steve fingered the enchanted book that contained the treaty draft, its pixel glow both hopeful and ominous. The room's tense stillness was shattered by an unexpected interruption. A wandering sheep, its wool accidentally dyed bright neon green from a careless creeper explosion, pranced through, the uninvited but symbolic mascot of chaos. Steve chuckled. Even now, nature mocked their plans. The treaty has 3 parts, Steve announced. 1. Humans reduce mining by 50%. 2. Blocks stop attacking villages, no more blockades or scoreboard deaths. 3. A joint new biome project collaboration. He glanced at the granite general, who grunted in approval. But then, unexpectedly, the granite general tapped the table, a blocky drum roll that triggered a hidden compartment. Inside, a pixelated cake, dark chocolate with sparkling diamond sprinkles, placed ceremoniously. Cake wasn't just cake here, it was an ancient block custom symbolizing forgiveness and fresh starts. Steve's eyes widened. You do understand that eating cake is basically the ultimate treaty handshake in block culture. He smiled cautiously and took a slice, the texture crunching oddly like gravel but sweet beneath. The room warmed as they all nibbled cautiously, the absurd piece ritual binding fates as much as speeches could outside. The landscape continued its patchwork shift. Logs sprouted leaves again, redstone traps deactivated, and block soldiers relaxed their pixelated stances. Somewhere, a zombie in meditation folded its blocky arms, looking surprisingly serene. Even Endermen paused to observe from a respectful distance. The piece was brittle but visible, woven like a fragile cobweb across this world, divided by squared conflict. Yet, as the treaty was signed with a massive, absurdly oversized quill crafted from enchanted blaze rods, a tiny voice piped up from the corner of the tent. Excuse me." A nervous wooden plank, freshly animated by mysterious server magic, shuffled forward. "But what about the dirt blocks? They felt left out. They were literally the ground beneath our feet." Silence fell, then uneasy chuckles. The apparent second-class citizenship of dirt blocks had never been addressed directly, and here it was, unveiled at the negotiation. Zenith Steve scratched his square head. "True," he admitted reluctantly. "Dirt blocks powered many farms, gave birth to mushrooms and flowers, maybe we underestimated their role. The granite general rumbled a low laugh, a sound like rolling boulders. Maybe next peace talks, he said, we lift dirt to rightful value. The assembly nodded, the shared absurdity of block politics reminding everyone how far this conflict had evolved from simple mining disputes to existential block identity. It was a gentle poke at all parties, a humorous but genuine moment of community building. But peace in this cubied realm was rarely simple. As the booming crowd celebrated, little redstone signals lit up suspiciously in the distance, hidden deep beneath the block fractures. A secret faction of glowing obsidian blocks, long considered mythic and slow to engage, had started crafting a massive, unapproved peace bomb, a glittering fusion of explosive power and light intended to end war entirely by a dazzling display of unity or absolute destruction. Their leader, the mysterious neon obsidian, a block with a soft purple glow and an unsettling grin, was motivated by a cynical desire to control both armies through spectacle. Steve caught wind of their plan, while sipping suspiciously sweet pixel cocoa in the negotiation tent's quietest corner. A bomb, he muttered, staring at the schematics drawn in glowing glyphs. A peace bomb? That sounds like a paradox wrapped in a TNT block. But the granite general was equally concerned. If exploded, it may unite or wipe all. He tapped a fist on the table. We face a new crisis. The treaty celebrations transformed into a frantic quest through patchwork biomes. Steve, the granite general, and an unlikely alliance of creeper negotiators and endermen scouts led a nimble blackened human mixed squad to locate the glowing obsidian's lair. Deep underground, lava pools bubbling ominously, tunnels bright with phosphorescent dark stone. Here, the glow grew brighter as the squad neared a gigantic construct. The peace bomb itself, shaped like a castle turret but twice the size of a village, humming with terrifying elegance. The tension was compounded by the bomb's sentience. It pulsed with a mischievous, blocky voice. To explode or not to explode? Let's all just detonate together. Kaboom, unity achieved. It giggled in electronic squeaks, or we blow up the world. Fun times. Steve whipped out a pixelated item rarely seen in war, the manual control lever, said to calm volatile redstone devices. Ready? He asked. The granite general nodded, first shaking off dust, then stepping forward to help. As the lever descended, the peace bomb shuddered and emitted a series of cracking noises. Tension mounted, breaths pixelated and held. Suddenly, nothing happened. Instead, a shower of tiny diamond shards erupted, sparkling harmlessly into the chamber like blocky confetti. The bomb's malicious grin melted into awe. "You disarmed me," it said. A trace of admiration in its voice. The scene exploded into jubilation. Steve lifted the granite general's heavy granite fist in victory. "Not with explosions," he said, "but with a switch and some trust." Out in the open, peace talks resumed with renewed vigor. The treaty's terms deepened. Mutual technology sharing, cobbleding projects, and an annual peace festival featuring a spectacular fireworks display made from harmless blocks of light and color rather than TNT. Weeks later, the landscape blossomed in weird new ways. A checkpoint where lava flowed with polished obsidian banks, a river of water blocks nested in blocks of ice, and fields where crops sprouted in perfect cubic symmetry. Villagers and blocks alike carried on their daily lives, the peace treaty a glossy emblem in every crafted banner fluttering in the square. Even the dirt blocks bloomed under cooperative farming efforts, proof that even the lowest in block society could cultivate change. But as Steve looked out over this quilted world from a newly built observation tower, the irony struck him like a stray creeper explosion. In their quest to define peace, control chaos, and balance block power, humans and blocks had forged an alliance never truly clean or simple. Each treaty carried the potential for new conflicts, and every cacheating ceremony masked nervous glances at hidden factions still lurking beneath the pixelated soil. Steve mused quietly. In Minecraft, as in life, Peace is just another block to build carefully. Or accidentally blow up. The camera zoomed out from Steve's thoughtful face, revealing the patchwork world glowing serenely under blocky stars. The hum of rebuilding life, both hopeful and tinged with inevitable chaos, echoing below the pixelated constellations. Somewhere in the shadows, a lone dirt block shivered, not forgotten, but quietly waiting for its shout in the next chapter of this absurd war between blocks and humans. The world had paused, yes, but the blocky saga was far from over. The question remained: could peace truly be built on such unstable foundations? Or was conflict just the natural rhythm of this cubic cosmos, doomed to reboot again and again, one pixel at a time?